Well, we started the week with attorney Tom DeVore, and we're going to end the week with attorney Tom DeVore. Why? Because he filed a new lawsuit in state court against the state's gun ban and taking an interesting approach here, especially when it comes to recognition of these special classes that the law has carved out. So appreciate you taking the time with us this morning, Tom. Let's go ahead and get on into it. This is kind of fascinating. A novel approach you're taking here because, well, we always hear this thing of citizen's arrest. What does that mean? And what are you asking the courts to do for your client in this case in Effingham County?
Hey, can you tell me what Bond County's percentage was before I answer your question?
Yeah, let me see if I can pull that up really quick.
All right, pull that up to get a chance while I'm talking.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, it's not really a novel approach, Greg. It's something that I've known for some time. When you actually break down these statutes in piece and really analyze them intellectually, you can find this more often than people would suspect. It just goes untalked about because it's usually not as egregious of a law that we're dealing with on this one. But our legislature in Illinois, given they passed this stuff in 2 days, nobody reads this stuff. They don't know what the hell they're doing. And so they put an exempt class in this law expressly. It's not ambiguous. It's not something that you have to try to, well, did they mean it? Did they not mean it? And if people go and read, it says that any peace officer is defined under section 2-13 of the criminal code is exempt. So that means then, well, who is a peace officer is defined in section 2-3 of the criminal code. Okay. And if you go read the statute, it says in there, it says a law enforcement officer who has by his public office is given, certain powers, including the power to arrest people, or it says, or, and it's conjunctive, Greg, it says, or someone who by statute has been given powers similar to a law enforcement officer. So the question is, just from reading the statute is, okay, a citizen under the Illinois private citizens arrest statute has by statute been given powers of arrest fundamentally identical to, not just similar to, fundamentally identical to a law enforcement officer. So then you say, okay, that's what the statute says, then go to the case law. And there's case law in Illinois that goes back a long time dealing with people who have been arrested and whether or not those arrests were valid. And there's a ton of case law that typically happens when you have a cop, a law enforcement officer, who is not within his jurisdiction. He's outside of his jurisdiction. So let's say he's a Cook County sheriff and he's in Bond County, Illinois, where I'm at, and he arrests somebody. He has no lawful authority as a law enforcement officer to arrest somebody in Bond County, but those arrests have always been upheld under the private citizens arrest statute. And our courts have said, look, doesn't matter if you're a cop or not a cop, you have the power to arrest, which is fundamentally the same as a citizen of this state as a law enforcement officer. So the case law is unequivocal in this regard. And so them drafting this law and drafting it the way they did, they've exempt out anybody who by definition is a peace officer, which is any citizen. So, they just didn't know what the hell they were doing, so be it. But they drafted the law, and I'm going to interpret the law the way it was drafted and the way it's been interpreted by the courts, and they just have to live with it.
We're talking with attorney Thomas DeVore, and just to let you know, we've got these numbers pulled back up here. Bond County, 2.6 items per individual who registered in Bond County.
What's the percentage of registry?
The percentage of those who registered in Bond County, of the 5,085 FOID card holders, only 52 registered. So that's 1%, essentially.
Okay.
So 1% of FOID card holders registered firearms in Bond County. I take it that's
about how many Democrats we got in Bond County, probably.
Well, it'd be interesting to do that comparison, quite frankly.
Well, you said Fayette County. What's interesting about Fayette County is, again, this is a political thing. You and I both know that. It's, Fayette County is highly Democratic county in our area. So when you gave me those numbers, it doesn't surprise me because of the political makeup of the county. That's okay.
Well, in Fayette County, it says it's only it's 0.5%. Yeah.
Yeah, Fayette's more conservative than Bond.
That's interesting. All right. So again, we're talking with Tom DeVore. Of course, if you follow along with me on what I publish at thecentersquare.com, you can see a copy of this lawsuit that we're talking about that DeVore filed on behalf of Accuracy Firearms and also a plaintiff there. Is it Halsty, or how do you pronounce his last name? Holsty. Okay, just to make sure. So, I mean, again, you're essentially saying you want the court to find your client as a peace officer. So that he can then go and take part and consummate a voluntary exchange of money for firearms from Accuracy Firearms, so that they can do that without the threat of being charged criminally or civilly.
Absolutely. And it's a perfect declaratory judgment action. And again, keep in mind, Greg, I didn't draft the law. Legislature drafted the law. It's not ambiguous, right? It is clear on its face. If you are a peace officer, you are exempt. Then the question becomes, who's a peace officer? The statute's clear that citizens are peace officers because they have arrest powers. It's crucial. They have arrest powers similar to a law enforcement officer. And since they have arrest powers similar to a law enforcement officer, they are, under the law of the state of Illinois, a peace officer. By definition, they're exempt. I don't know what the state's going to do with that, but there's no way to argue it.
You know, I remember at the beginning of this conversation when they were talking about the special classes being carved out, there were some suggesting, you know what, just go to your sheriff and get deputized. A sheriff locally elected can deputize individuals, and bada bing, bada boom. Maybe a sheriff says, hey, all FOID card holders in the county are hereby deputized. I mean, would that also be kind of the same type of characterization here that could have people be in an exempt class?
It's similar to what you're talking about, Greg, but you have to, what I would say to you is, one, the Illinois Private Citizens Arrest Statute, which is a specific law in Illinois, fundamentally accomplishes the same task as being deputized by your sheriff, because the Illinois legislature by statute has already conferred those powers on citizens. For example, Greg, if you're driving down the road and somebody's recklessly driving, swerving all over the road, doing all these things in front of you, you can stop them and arrest them, and you are legally within your right to do so. If you see a battery going on in the street, if you see somebody shoplifting, if you see any of these crimes being committed, you as a citizen of this state can arrest that person, place them under arrest, and charge them with a crime, and it's legal. And for those reasons, we are peace officers as defined in Illinois law. So yeah, the deputizing is really moot and unnecessary.
Again, having a judge declare this for your client, what would that mean for everybody else, though? I mean, this is just one person, one of your clients. What would this mean for anybody else out there that still feels that their rights are being infringed?
I think that they can go make the same argument, right? I mean, the law, if we get a ruling, and again, I don't know how it doesn't happen. I mean, courts are interesting places, Greg. I've talked to 50 of my lawyer buddies about this issue, and they all, tell me I read statutes too much, but they all said, you're right, there's no way around it. But that's only one judge in one county. It's not binding precedent across the state, right?
Right.
Like some would like to suggest, but we'll see what the Attorney General and the Brandon Kelly, Director Kelly want to do with it. They want to take it on up the next level. Are they going to run back and do another gut and replace and try to pull peace officer out of the statute? I devil dog dare them to start playing with the statute, because it just opens people's eyes more to the fact that, their gut and replace of this shell bill was what caused these problems. They passed a law and they put an exception in the law that really covers every law-abiding citizen in the state of Illinois that's got a FOID card.
And then they also wrote the law to essentially allow for Illinois State Police every October 1st to change up the list of banned firearms and other rules. So,
and so you're aware too, and your listeners are aware. We took our other case up on appeal, as you know. But I got up at 4:00 this morning. I'm drafting another equal protection case, and I'm taking the Calkins standard that the Illinois Supreme Court laid down, and I'm going to use it against the state, and I'm going to file another equal protection claim too, on top of the one that we've already got pending. It's going to still keep going, But, while we're waiting for that to work its way through the appellate court, I'm filing another equal protection claim too, and I'm going to pin them down using the Calkins standard against them. You'll find that interesting once I get it done.
So we'll obviously be talking with Tom again, maybe Monday. I don't know. We'll
it'll be a few weeks.
All right, sounds good. Tom DeVore, thank you so much for taking time with us this morning, of course, and we'll be tracking this. As far as this case, the most recent one about you trying to get your client to be declared a peace officer by the court, when is there going to be a hearing? Is there any sense of a timeline yet?
Yeah, it'll happen faster than normal, so I'm hoping within a month we'll have a hearing on that.
All right, so we'll definitely see what happens there. Tom DeVore, greatly appreciated. Be safe and safe travels, all right?
Take care. See you, Greg.
It is Bishop on Air. I'm Greg Bishop. Thanks for hanging out with me each and every weekday morning. Happy Friday. I got to get out of here and head over to my full-time gig, so I appreciate you guys being here.